What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Lab podcast. As always, I'm your host, Coach A, here with
Coach Guards. It's been long again.
Well, I wonder why, because we can't sweep our stuff into a pile, folks.
God. All right, here we go.
Here we go. But not to pat myself on the back. Mindset Monday's been very consistent.
Yeah.
So
It's been very good.
well, I didn't say it's been good. I just said it's been consistent.
Yeah.
And consistency is the key to success, kids. Got it?
Huge. Let's hit on that. That's a nice one. I like that.
Consistency is the key to success. Yeah. We'll talk about a few things, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's really good.
How are the boys doing?
Everybody's good.
That's not what you said 20 minutes ago before we started rolling.
Oh, well, I mean, as a team, we've had some suspension issues. I think we'll get into that lately.
Disciplinary issues.
I do think kids go through lulls, and I think January, February sometimes are the dog days. I remember myself, it's dark outside. You're coming off a big high of Christmas and New Year's, and you got to get yourself fired back up. There's
to
play hockey, and it's a push for the playoffs. And I think there's that factor of engagement again and getting excited. But I think we're coming through it now. I see the sun a little bit more often, which is nice. And
coming out the other side.
Yeah, it's you learn every year. As a coach, as a kid, you learn what you need to do and how you need to act. And, school's important. And, it's tough. No, it's seriously.
No, I know.
School right now for kids, maybe it's busy. It's, sort of that mid-season for school where you got to push.
You're in high school or just finished exams.
And,
absolutely.
You got all these, our 09s. They got, they just had the GTHL All-Star game. And
shout out to Sammy Roberts.
Yes, Sammy.
Sammy takes a lot of heat around here, obviously, because he's Gary's kid. So we're harder on Sammy than other kids, or I certainly am. Partly because he's Rob's kid, and also because I've known him since he was in diapers, so running around. But he had a big game last night, so congrats, Sam.
Yes.
You earned it.
Yes.
You didn't deserve it. You earned it. MVP. So that was awesome.
Yeah. So those guys, they're thinking ahead. They're thinking about the draft, and then you got the OHL guys coming off the trade deadline.
Yep.
Resetting. Where do I fit into the mix? Have I dropped a couple lines? Am I in a different situation now? Everybody's trying to find each other out. Our other Roberts got traded, so
yep.
We wish him all the best up there.
Sudbury.
Nickeltown, yeah. So yeah, I know it's good. Listen, one day at a time.
Okay, I know we talked about refs officiating. I think it's something worth having a discussion about. Obviously, a lot of press last week or the week before. 97 gets 3 games, cross-checking. My old man and I were getting into it last night. A little bit. But where are we at? What do you think?
Look, it's a touchy subject. We have to preface it with, it's not easy to be a ref. I would never want to be a ref.
Okay, so I have officiated.
Yeah.
I worked my way up to a junior A level.
Right.
I did that for a period before I came down here. It is, it is undoubtedly challenging to do. There's no question about it. I also think that the volume of referees, the number available, has dropped significantly because it's not fun. You are demonized the entire time. It's very hard to do a good job, undoubtedly. I think the level of abuse that you take and the way that you take that abuse has changed now compared to when I did it. And so the total pool drops. So it makes sense if we have a smaller pyramid. The base of our pyramid is smaller. Of course, we're going to have less really qualified officials at the top.
Right? 100%. And, so to your point, we had a tournament 2 weeks ago and 300 plus teams and not enough refs.
Right.
Some of these kids are used to having 3 refs in a game or 2 refs and 2 linesmen or 1 ref and you end up with just 2 linesmen because there's not enough. They're trying to pump teams through and not enough refs, which is they're tired. They've been on the ice 5-6 hours. And they start to make, calls that probably aren't the best, and then they feel it from the fans. I think we have to be, cognizant of that. I think maybe, we have to get more refs into the game. So how do you do that? I worked with a guy 5-6 years ago who was an NHL ref, and he said that he thinks that every kid playing hockey should do at least 1 year of a referee course.
Oh, that would be a good idea.
Yeah. So everybody knows.
Get a handle on officiating.
So think about it. Even when we played, I had to be one, you have to do a year of reffing or at least ref a younger age game or just something to get that feeling.
It was a great part-time job. truthfully. I was probably 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So kind of that 5-year stretch, maybe a little bit as 20-year-old. But yeah, I would officiate in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays, like 4 or 5 hours. Make some like decent money for a kid of that age.
I mean, it's the same as umpiring. It's anything. It's anything officiating wise, right? Like it's not easy.
No.
You get umpires. I remember when we were kids playing baseball, umpires are getting yelled at from strike zones. Like first off, we got to preface, where are you? Like, let's figure it out. It's,
what do you mean?
Well, like your kids, like don't be calling balls and strikes from the sidelines. Just let them play, right?
Yeah.
The kid's trying his hardest.
Yeah.
And, but, from a hockey standpoint of what's happened in the last little while, I just think it's, I think the referees themselves have to realize like there's a whole bigger picture of not just this game that's happened, right? So for instance, I said to the ref last time, and I said, look, you guys got to realize like we're here, we got up at 5:30 in the morning. We've driven down here for a semifinal game. And if you're not on point and you have your bad game, you're not only affecting the kids, the outcome of the game, but the parents have come all this way. They've spent all this money for this, this year, all the stuff that goes around it, the hotel rooms, like there's a bigger picture here, right? So like be really mindful that, we need your best.
Right.
And you got to really think about the calls you're making.
Right.
And, because they say don't, you hear the refs always, when the coach, starts to comment and have conversation with the ref, don't ruin it for your kids. Well, I'm not ruining it for my kids. Don't you ruin it for my kids, right?
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Both
it's
ways.
a relationship.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing for me. And I think the body has to look at it and realize, like, what are we trying to do? I think the hockey's changed. Puck possession's changed. We deal with it in Europe. The NHL's changed too. We deal with it in Europe. The NHL's changed with puck possession, and we're used to dump it in, take the hit, right? Now it's like puck protection, you're a lot of wall work, stuff like that. So I think kids at a younger age have to realize about the turning part or putting themselves in situations.
Vulnerable positions?
Yeah, vulnerable positions.
Yeah.
So last night, for instance, like 2 kids lunging for a puck, and cuts into him and there's a collision. Like the kid's not trying to hit him. He's just maybe stronger or bigger. And you can't suspend a kid or give a kid a major for that because now you're telling the kid not to, engage in puck battles.
Right.
But then on the other hand, you're not teaching the kid that put himself in the situation that
next year or the year after.
Yeah, the next year or the year after, that's going to be clean and that's going to hurt. Right? So right now you say to the kid, okay, we'll give you a minor for a collision or whatever. And then somebody needs to go talk to this kid and say, hey, this is why you can't do that. But this kid goes home today and he's like, yeah, the guy got a 3-game suspension on me. It was a major. He should have done it. He's not learning.
Right.
You're not learning from that.
Because the hit is clean.
Right. The hit is clean or is accidental or it was. Now, flip that too. From behind, 100%.
Right.
Cross checks to the head. We got to Connor McDavid thing. But like stuff like that, that's evident and you can see that the kid's hunting or he's being an aggressor or he's trying to hurt somebody, intent to injure, which they don't have anymore. 100%.
Right.
But like collisions or body contact where the kid turns and he shouldn't turn. Like somehow we have to teach these kids that.
Well, do you think you should just start hitting earlier?
I think they should.
Right. I know we've talked about that a little bit. But
because I think the ages are and the size is more equal and kids will learn how to survive. And they won't get hurt much. I think that. But I just even a parent, like if you're listening and your kid puts himself in a situation and he gets, he's hurt, but that it's maybe a little bit his fault or he's done something wrong, please tell him. And because you don't want that to hurt. Like shoulder checks going into boards or just turning your back on a player coming at you. Like it's a split second. Right. So
we've done a little bit of work with the ADOP. I want to make sure I got that right. Yeah, ADOP. So the U.S. officials organization. So they've taken USHL, NAHL, like their top tier junior leagues, and they've kind of put their officials associations together. And they've got one governing body. And we've been really impressed, truthfully. We were down in Plymouth. They had, I think, 95 officials come in, do a 1-week-long camp. That's one of many camps that they'll do. And they're starting to prioritize, things, everything from the technical aspects of officiating to the physical preparation, to nutrition, to mindset and preparation. They're elevating officiating inside of the U.S. hockey program. And what they're trying to do is drive a better standard. So they have a variety of different rooms and different tiers of officials. Some are full-time, some are part-time. But they have a variety of apartments. And then the officials stay in the apartments that are provided by the organization. Right?
Okay.
And so it costs them less money because they don't have to travel. They don't have to fly officials and have them travel so far.
So they just stick in their area.
They stick in hubs. They move them into hubs for the season. And these are all officials that want to get to the next level. But then on top of that, they have more consistent officiating because you
know
have,
the league, you know the players.
you know the league, you know the players,
You know the guys you're working with.
you know the guys you're working with. You have the same model of development regardless
Right.
of where you are. You have touch points with the same people,
Yeah.
and so they're like, we need to elevate our game as the game of hockey has improved.
So you hit on it 100%, and we've always talked about this. I remember I would yell at the refs, and I feel really bad about it. But like, they need to be up to speed, and that's what you're doing. Your training's helping them. Kids have gotten faster,
Yep.
and no disrespect to all the older generation refs that now ref still, because part and parcel exactly what you said. We don't have enough, so they have to do it,
Yep.
or they love to be out on the ice and they want to continue. But if you can't keep up with an 11 or 12-year-old now, and I don't
It's
want to get on
hard
them.
to make a call
Yeah,
behind
or
the play.
you can't bend over and pick up a puck. Like, come on.
Right.
Right? And this is where I say, well, it's just a game. It's just one instance. It's one call. Yes, it is. But in the grand scheme of things, what you're trying to do is, these parents especially and the kids, they put a lot of work into this.
Right.
And they want what's best. And if a bad call can change a lot of things. And I used to work with a guy, say, well, if it's a bad call, just have a better penalty kill. I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Well,
And with the Connor thing,
I was
it's,
gonna say, what'd you think of it? Yeah.
I think he got what he should have got.
3 games. You thought that was
I thought that was a little high,
Okay.
personally. I think if you compare it to, I'm trying to figure out who was the guy that got it earlier in the season, and he only got a 1-gamer. Garland's a smaller guy too. That's a factor, but I think you make the call earlier, like Connor said, and it's over.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest thing with everybody. Is like call it before it escalates.
So the stat, and Moff, maybe you can fact check this for us. Can you check what number, like what rank Connor is in drawn penalties? I think he's like 252 in the league.
We've had this conversation before off camera.
I know, but like
Yeah.
the guy has the puck 18 minutes a game. He plays 27. He has the puck 18 minutes a game. Like it is almost impossible that he can't be higher up in drawn penalties. It's almost like they feel bad because
They feel bad for everybody else. 100%.
Because there's a penalty on every play.
Yeah. And then that's frustrating.
Can you check the stat line? What is it?
So this year,
And then the
in total he's drawn 8 penalties.
right. So
That's it.
That's it. And then the Oil, who have like some of the top puck possession of all the teams, they're like 22nd overall in drawn penalties. So you have like Connor and Leon that always have the puck on their stick,
Oh.
and like somehow you only draw.
Yeah.
Like how does that guy only draw 8 penalties?
Well,
That's
he
insane.
could draw 8 penalties a game.
He could draw 8 penalties a shift.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've talked about this before. It's
Yeah.
like you have to make those calls. That's his asset.
Right.
He puts other players in uncomfortable positions that the only way to stop him is by getting a penalty.
Yeah. You can't just not call it just because
Yeah.
he's the best.
I know.
And
And
then-
that's frustrating. But I do think his reaction wasn't correct.
No.
And we
for
get
sure.
that, right? Like, he gets looked up to, and obviously what he sees is stuff, but he handled it well. Excuse me, but exactly, like you have to.
Yeah. What,
We've had 14 penalties.
okay.
Yeah.
Regardless,
66th in the league.
66th in the league. Okay. So
Who's
I
no?
was
Do you see who's number 1?
I can't.
Matty Kachuk maybe.
Yeah, but
Like,
for what
but
reasons?
for a different reason. But I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
I bet you it's someone like that. That's my
Yeah, like in
prediction.
scrums that are
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
punches and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Brad Marchand, like, those are my picks.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say Chuck.
As of the 30th specific NHL that was drawn.
What do we got?
We got the historical.
All right, we'll you come back to us. When
Okay.
we get it.
Kreider.
Chris Kreider.
Yep.
All
Net
right.
front presence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking some cross checks, maybe some trips, some punches after the whistle. Yeah.
But regardless, I just couldn't. Yeah, I get it. I know that it's a challenge. Like the last thing you want is to whatever feel like the play, like the whole game is stopping, like every single time he steps on the ice, like as official. I'm sure that's part of it. But like you said, that's his asset.
Yeah, it's like those. They have sort of unwritten rules for certain guys, right?
And then the other thing too. So do you remember? You obviously do remember, remember post lockout how much the rules changed?
Yeah.
Right. And so you went from like the old era clutch and grab post-lockout rules change, and it was bad at that point. Like you couldn't,
Yeah,
like,
I remember that. I went through that.
did you go through that too?
Yeah, we had 17 penalties in the first
Dude,
period. It was crazy.
It was like
any stick.
It was like Harry Potter penalties.
Yeah.
You like pulled your stick up.
Yeah.
And you were gone. And then, but playoff hockey's always different, right?
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. It changes again.
Playoff hockey's different, and I feel like it just keeps going, right? So it started tons of clutch and grab, lockout happens, come back, everything's a penalty, and then we're just like moving our way back.
We're regressing.
We're going back there.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a middle ground somewhere.
What do you think about making the rinks bigger?
That's a good question. What do you
Right.
think about making the rinks bigger?
Like, if you make the rinks bigger, do you get more clutch and grab, or do you get more?
But you get tons of clutch and grab in Europe, do you not?
Yeah, I just think the guys are getting so much bigger, so much faster. Everything's getting so tight, right?
Guys aren't getting bigger.
Well,
you guys are
no.
monsters when you play.
But bigger in the sense of they play bigger. They're faster.
Oh, okay.
They're stronger. They're more powerful, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the game speeds.
The game changes so much, though, right?
The game has changed, and coaches are so prepared.
Yeah.
I do agree with you, and we talk about it. We'll talk about it in 2 months when the season ends, right?
Yep.
And I go back to, and maybe you remember this. I don't know if our younger guys do, but I remember when Vancouver played Boston in the finals, and Vancouver got all the way through the playoffs with the Sedin twins because their power play was number one.
Yep.
And they drew penalties, and they got to the finals, and it was like
The whistles just go in the
in the pocket, and Boston absolutely raked them over the coals in every aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like clutch, grab, rough,
Yep.
hook, hold, like bite, chew,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do, and nothing got called, and they just it was like that was 2 different seasons.
100%.
So the only thing I can say for Connor is like he plays playoff hockey from day one.
100%.
So he's ready. But at the same time, yeah, you can be frustrating. Like his body's going through, he has to go through more than everybody else does.
Gets
Leon, yeah, and he gets frustrated and gets pissed. So he wastes one.
Yep.
And I get it. Like he's exactly right. Call the penalty before. Then he's a smart enough guy. He stops, takes the power play, and we're rolling. But yeah, look, it's never easy for refs. I have their back. I deal with it, with Europe. I think it's a quick game. So for them and for refs coming up, do as much as you can to be physically strong, fast, mentally prepared. Realize that you're not only just affecting that one game and that one play. The outcome is broader and bigger than that, and you have to take that into consideration. And there needs to be, a little bit of reflection. Mm-hmm. But that takes money. That takes commitment from the organizations, resources, right? So should some of the money from the organizations, or I don't know how much and I don't know the numbers, but should we give more to the referees? 100%. You're going to get more refs.
Yep.
And then there's less complaining. But
better quality.
But as parents, please, they've brought out the green thing now for the guys to start. Just be cognizant. Like,
what do you mean? If it's a
so
new
there's a green.
Oh yeah, armband.
Armband, just saying that he's in training, or he's a first year, or he's a younger guy. So just yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Even when I did it, like I would get off the ice sometimes, and there'd be a dad waiting for me. And this is I had already started to fight professionally, and I was like young and hot-headed. So like truthfully, I was probably pretty excited when I saw it. But I would come off the ice, and there'd be a dad or 2 or 3, depending on the game, kind of waiting for us right by the referee's door as you go in. And the way that it was set up at a couple of the rinks, you basically you kind of had to walk by the fans to get there.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we had a few altercations. We had another one guy like waiting outside. You open up the door, he's waiting for you in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You're like, bro,
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like
it's over.
Come on.
Yeah. No, 100%.
They're 12.
Yeah. But so back to the other thing.
So it's a bit of both.
Yeah. 100%. Like we're not ripping on the refs here. I'm just saying, I just want them to realize there's a grander scheme and grander thinking. And the other thing is like what we're trying to teach our kids, right? Like I said, if a kid's getting suspended and we play 33 games and he's getting 4 games for something, is that actually correct, right? Like if it's an accidental hit and it's just because the kid lays on the ice and then he gets up and he plays the next day, and then that kid's not learning.
The injury one's an interesting one too.
Injury's a bad one. It's wrong.
I think it's wrong too.
100% wrong.
You have to.
We've changed it in Europe and they change it here. Yeah, I think the NHL still talks a lot about injury, but like you can't, for instance, guy cross-checks a guy or a guy trips up in the neutral zone, or 8 feet from the board, slides into the boards, breaks his leg. Like the trip, but it was the end result that caused it.
Right.
So here, what I've been told is that the minute there's an injury or on the ice, they have to call a major, which is
wrong.
Which is wrong because I'm not saying
things happen.
Yeah, and also a lot of kids lay around.
Right.
right?
Right.
And
Right.
then you know,
Did you ever lay around?
never.
I laid once.
Did you?
Yeah, when I was like 6.
Oh.
I still remember. 6 maybe? 7? Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
It was bad.
I told you the story about when I broke my collarbone.
No.
I broke my collarbone in Buffalo. Kid tripped me up, swept my legs up, and I landed on my collarbone. Still made the pass. Bobby Urtel. Bobby's out there. I'll remember him. Scored.
Okay.
Bobby scored. I came off the ice and sat down, and I was white as a ghost. And you know when something's
Yeah.
broken. And my old man was working the offensive door or the defensive door, and he yelled down at the trainer. And I've done this before too, and I think it's a father thing or a parent thing. Is like you get anxious and worked up when your kid's hurt, or you just
Yep.
and he yells. He's like, "Get down here! What's wrong with you?" So I come down here, and he looked at me. He's like, "Oh," he's like, "Something's wrong." He's like, "Yeah, you better go off." Doesn't even open the door for me. Makes me jump the boards.
And
I
go
skate
off?
over. Yeah. We got in the car, full equipment, drove across the Buffalo border into Fort Erie, got my shoulder replaced, went back to the old Buffalo Stadium, watched the game.
Oh, no
Yeah,
way.
Yeah.
Oh.
But just like, it's a difference, right? And there's some kids that are and some kids that aren't. And I'm not saying like a kid's hurt. Yeah, I get it. Or gets the wind knocked out of you, but really try to get up because it means a lot, right? And you
Yeah.
don't want the other kid to get kicked out because it wasn't a real play.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So we'll see how far this episode goes. People will probably complain more about it, but yeah, whatever.
All good. Okay, one more quick thing.
Yeah.
Four Nations coming
Love
up.
it. Love it.
Yeah, love it. How many commercials have you seen?
Yeah, I don't know.
The
Maybe
goose egg.
I seen 2,
Exactly.
and it's a lady walking around explaining the games. Yeah, what's her the girl? 2 girls walk around. They explain they explain the format. That's it.
Nobody knows, man.
Yeah.
Like you have the best players in the world
Going
playing
against each other.
against the best players in the world,
Yeah,
and nobody knows.
yeah.
Like it's like we don't want the game to grow.
Crosby and McDavid together finally. Like just out there.
Crosby, McDavid,
Matthews.
Matthews.
Was with
Like-
all his boys.
like it's insane. It's insane, and no one knows. I cannot believe it. It's like the league is afraid that they might get more fans. I don't know.
Well,
I don't-
we used to be run in August, right?
Spend every dollar you have,
Yeah.
please, on marketing this. Every dollar.
Yeah.
Like all of it. Like good marketing. Spend bet it all, because like the game needs to grow, and
Yeah.
people need to know, and there has to be excitement about it. Like
I don't even know when it starts.
Exactly. Name one game time. Couldn't tell you. I think is it the 12th? I believe it's the 12th.
18th. Or the 15th, sorry, 15th.
There you go. I thought it was the 12th.
I thought it was like 9th, I think.
It's crazy to me. I think you know what? Good for us because
I posted this yesterday, and I was going to see if you guys want to talk about it.
yeah, throw it to me. Let me see.
And the comments are basically, this is the most, it's just terrible.
Candy salad.
It's them just putting in
So I wonder, they do a lot of their, and we know because we lose the guys a bit, they do a lot of all their filming and all their production and all their commercials at the start of the year, right? So I wonder if they didn't know if the Four Nations was going to go ahead, so they couldn't prepare properly for it. And now it's just very hard to get the schedule of the guys, but still, you still can get
Nonetheless,
it.
you've got
Connor just had a couple games off with the cross check, get in there and see him.
I mean, you just have access to these players all year round. I think you have an opportunity.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
And the comments are basically like, this is like, could it be any more lifeless? Could it be any more like...
These-
This hockey is the greatest hockey. Like it is.
It's
best
amazing.
on best.
Best on best.
I remember watching it.
We had it in baseball
this summer,
9 months ago.
Yeah,
Like-
I remember watching it in August a bunch of years ago. I remember going to the Olympics in Torino. And I've told you this too. And watching, it was Thornton and Nash on Canada against Ovechkin and Malkin on Russia, and the whole crowd stood the whole game.
Yeah.
It was incredible. The Russians pumped them, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So great.
I wish more people knew. I wish I knew more about
Yeah.
it. I wish there was more excitement. I want to go home. I wish that my YouTube and my algorithm
Yeah.
was flooded.
I wish it was almost like the World Juniors.
Yeah,
Like,
it should be.
yeah.
That's how it should feel.
and you're going to put it, like you just said, the finals are at 9:00 on a Thursday night. Which kid is going to, how are you doing it for kids?
Right.
Right? That's our youth.
So anyway, that's a miss. Good for us. Whatever.
Yeah.
We're going to keep building a hockey media
Go Four
company.
Nations.
We're going to keep building a hockey media company so that people can see these players, because these players are amazing. They're tons of fun. obviously he's not playing, but like Leon is hilarious. Every time that guy has a camera in front of him, I laugh. He's like so direct, so German.
Yeah.
It's like, we need to share this more.
That's the only drawback of this is like you are missing a couple of the guys. And I
Missed a couple
know
of guys,
like
100%.
I like that Team Europe. I think that would have been cool. Go back to that if that's where you want to go, right?
Yeah, Russia needs to come back.
We need
obviously, like
Russia
we
come
talked about.
back and then pull the Team Europe into the mix. Now we got 6.
Right. Oh, so still have like Sweden, Finland,
Canada, US,
Russia,
and then the rest of Europe.
You can do Czech, German.
Swiss. I mean, you could probably do the Czechs won it last year.
I know. You could
Right?
probably do.
But so
Czech
if you bring the Czechs, then the Swiss are like, well, you got to bring the Swiss, and then
Right,
the
right.
Germans are like, well, we're pretty good with Moritz Seider and obviously Leon and you got those guys. So it's a hit or miss, right? So
All right. Well, anyway, Four Nations, we're excited. About.
quick question.
Yeah, fire.
Do you like if you're banged up? Do you take the break?
Oh yeah. I mean, it depends I think it depends what you care about more, truthfully. And I do think that you have a paid contract, and you have an obligation to honor your contract, right?
With the team.
With the team, you are paid to play hockey for the team, like first and foremost. And so I do think you have an obligation to that team, and I think you have an obligation to your fan base. There's no question about it.
Do the teams get paid though from the NHL or from the Four Nations for this event?
I don't know. It's a great question.
So if they're still getting paid, you're still in ESPA somehow getting paid.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, but I do think you have an obligation there. Like as a player, you do. We talk about it a lot. Like fans sometimes overstep a little bit, but ultimately you get to play the game because of them, right? Gary and I flew home last week.
Yeah.
There was a guy that got. This is actually a great story. We're in the U.S. for 4 days. No one knows who he is, obviously, right? Vegas isn't known for its hockey.
Yeah.
Like obviously they have the Knights, but there's a lot going on. Excuse me. We fly back into Canada. We get on a connecting flight. We're sitting there. We're on the plane for 3 minutes. Someone walks in. Oh, Gary Roberts. Hey, how are you? Right?
Canada's a different beast.
Someone else walks in. Gary Roberts, how are you? The third person walks in. He starts like basically crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's probably, I don't know, like mid-30s, starts crying. He's wearing a Toronto hat. He's like, Mr. Roberts. He's like, my dad passed this morning. He's a huge Leafs fan.
No.
Like, he's like, I'm flying home. We were out in Vancouver. He's like, I'm flying home to go see my family. He's like, I can't believe I just saw you. And so he goes to the back of the plane. I'm actually getting teared up.
Yeah.
He goes to the back of the plane. We take off. He comes back. He's got a photo. It's his dad wearing a Roberts jersey. Him wearing
now I'm going to get Come on.
Him wearing a Sundin jersey. Comes up. Gary was amazing. Talked to him. Took a photo. Chatted with him. He's like, this means a lot to his family.
Dude.
So anyway, my point is like, and Robs has time for that. Like, he has hours for that. But my point is like the game means a lot to these people.
Yeah.
And you have an obligation to that fan base. And so I think. I think
what fan base?
Your team fan base, because you're being paid. I understand what you're saying.
Well, what about you just talked about growing the game?
But there is an aspect of growing the game and national pride. So if you're healthy, I think you should play. But if you're hurt and it's an issue, then I think you should probably sit it.
So hurt into the aspect of, you hear Jokic in, where's he playing? Denver.
Right.
Right. He just got back to the NBA All-Star game.
Right.
And they interviewed him on the court, and he's like, yeah, the fans got you back in. What do you have to say for them? And he jokingly says, well, thanks for
ruining my vacation.
Ruining my 3 days off, right?
Yeah.
So
no, I get it. I do get it. You want to grow the game. But
yeah.
if you're injured, I think that you should rest.
But I think these guys love it. Like, but injured meaning like if you're nursing a little sore something, right?
It's
Where
hard.
does it end?
It's hard. And the
like if you don't have Connor and Austin, like everybody's talking about Austin, don't go, right?
And to be fair, like the Euros, like playing for your nation, often means even more, right?
Huge for them.
So
and the only other
what
thing
do you think? Is it the opposite? You think they should
play?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously.
Well, I would say one thing, right? You just told me 14 days off because I know I talked to. What was it? If I talked to Yos or I think it was Yos, told me when the national game was on. He's like they get like 10 days off, so that can be
too much,
right? Like because we've done it.
Yeah.
In Europe, they have those national team breaks. So now you're off for 10 days. You kind of lose it. You lose it. You can't recreate the game on the ice just in practices. It's not possible. I don't care what you do. And then also your body knows, and I don't know, it's probably some physiological thing, but like you just relax because you know you don't have to do it, and then you break down, and then
you go from sympathetic to parasympathetic.
Yeah, and then you start to get sick. And
Dallas against Edmonton last playoff run. Dallas they win early.
Yeah, four straight. Yeah,
Edmonton goes 7. And they and Tanny told me this. Even their practices, they took too many days off.
Yeah,
he's like, we were off 2 on 1, off 2 on 1.
Yeah,
he's like, I started to get sick. My body started feeling beat up.
Yeah.
He's like, we just down-regulated
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
So there is
So
something to it.
now these 10, 14 days, these other guys are going to be off. So you might even be better to be there. You're going to come off a huge high. You're going to come off high-speed games, intensity,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, boom, back into it, right?
Could be
now,
some ugly hockey coming back.
Yeah, it could hurt you down the road, but I don't know. It's a
Well, we'll be watching. I'm excited regardless.
Yeah, I am pumped too. Yeah, I'm very excited. It's going to be great. Like, and then hopefully this just bleeds into Torino because it's going to be really good again.
Wicked. Awesome. All right, guys. Guards, thanks.
Hey, thanks.
See you in a week or 2 or 3.